Welcome to part 4 of the Game Objects project in Autodesk Maya. In this tutorial we're going to cover how to model a column. I have here a column that I modeled in Maya. You can see it's two separate pieces. I have sort of a base here, and then I have sort of the cylinder for the top part here. And there's all these subdivisions along here. The reason why I have that is because I actually brought this into um, uh, Mudbox and actually added a normal map. I did some texturing on it and so forth. We're not going to go into that for this tutorial, but we are going to basically show you how to do a column of some sort. So I'm going to turn off the visibility of this guy. And I have a couple reference photos here. I have this one of some broken columns from Rome, Italy when I was there a few years back. I highly recommend going there. Really cool place. Here's another one. And they vary, some of them have these sort of like beveled inside little inserts. Maybe we'll do that one. But usually they have some sort of rectangular base and then have most of the structure made out from a cylinder. So we'll start with a cube and basically just click on the base here with a cube, again in the poly modeling shelf here. And I'm just going to scale it by hitting R and kind of scale it out a little bit to make it bigger and then kind of flatten it out. Some sort of base like this. And I'm just kind of making something like that. Looks pretty good as a good starting point. And then basically a lot of it's just kind of like the cylinder. What we did with the lightsaber is basically do lots of extruding and scaling. So I'm going to go into component mode again. That's in the modeling toolkit just by clicking on the face. And I just did it by right clicking and basically using the extrude tool. So click on extrude, click on the blue top cube, and then the little cube in the center here, drag to the left, and then you'll get a little insert, basically creating a edge loop all the way around. And then you get the G key, and then you can do interesting things like I could go downwards. So I'm just grab that blue arrow and sort of drag downwards a little bit, and then hit G again. Then I'm going to scale. So I'm click on the cube and scale inwards. I'm always scaling and then extruding, scaling then extruding. So you don't want to scale and then scale usually. So I'll hit G again. G again is the hotkey for any action you just did. So it's a little quicker than having to go over here and hit extrude each time. So I'll go ahead and pull this up a little bit, something like that. Hit G again, pull up a little bit more, and this time maybe I'll click on the blue cube and just scale it in and create like a look like that. Again, you can have fun with it. You can create any kind of look you like. It can be very simple. I mean, this one's very simple base. The other one didn't even have much of a base from the photo reference. So the next thing I'm going to do is add a column, which is the main part, which is from the cylinder. So I'm going to click on the cylinder and I'm just going to hit W. It's in there. Just got to move it up. And then basically what I want to do is kind of scale it to the radius that I want it to be. So I'm going to hit R and grab that center cube and kind of scale it out to about there. Now the default 20 divisions works out pretty well for the column. And if I hit number 4, you can kind of see it in wireframe what's going on down there. Now if I wanted to save in terms of memory, it's not critical for you to do this, but if you are really thinking about these as game assets, knowing that these two will be sort of connected in some way, even just in a group, I might want to delete those interfaces. I'm just going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to hit number 4 here, and with this selected, I'm going to go into face mode, and I'm just going to drag over this whole thing here, and then hold Control and deselect the top part, which will leave those bottom faces selected still. And then I can just simply hit the backspace or delete key and get rid of that extra geometry. It just saves on a little bit of memory. And then I hit number 5 to go back to shaded solid mode. And no one's wiser that those faces are missing basically. So the other faces I could extrude all the way up, and it's got a slight taper here. So I'm going to right click, go to face mode, and just drag across those again. And then hold Control and drag across these. So I just have the top selected. You can hit number 4 and wireframe node just to make sure, and then go back to shaded solid by hitting number 5. And then I'm going to use my move tool, and basically I'm just going to drag this up quite a ways to make kind of a tall sort of column here. Maybe something like that. This will be a little bit taller than the other one I had. And then this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale in this a little bit. I want to taper in just a slightly, so I'm going to hit R, and I'm just going to taper it in just a smidge so I get that tapered quality. Then what I can do is I could finish off with a cap of some sort. So I'll go ahead and click on the extrude again. This time click on the blue cube, and I'm going to scale out a little bit, create sort of a lip there, and then I'm going to use the hotkey G again to extrude out a little top here. And I'm just going to hit G again, click on the blue cube, scale in. Again, I'm kind of following reference here, and you could do whatever you want essentially at this point with that in the column. And I'll just kind of bring up. Now the rest here is definitely a sculpted kind of detail. So I might want to replace this. I might have wanted to stop one step back. Let me undo the last extrusion to there. Because maybe I would replace this with like a cube that's subdivided and has all this cool sculpted detail, right? So if I was going to copy that exact one there. And so all I would have to do at that point is go back to object mode and then add another cube to go up the top. So I'll add another cube, hit W, kind of bring it up. Always try to remember to grab from your arrows, and then I can hit F to frame in on it. Zoom out a little bit. And then I'll just kind of scale it up a little bit here. But basically, that main form, if we kind of think about it, is basically a subdivided cube in a lot of ways here. So I'd probably add lots of divisions here. I don't know how many. Let's see, maybe 2, 3 maybe? Let's try 3. Yeah, probably 3 would be enough. And then I would take this into a program like Mudbox and sculpt this. So I won't show this in this tutorial, but I just wanted to share that's how I would go about that. For right now, we could delete this and basically go with the way I was working before, which is to extrude this up. So I'll go ahead and extrude this as a cap here, kind of pull it up, and maybe I'll do something a little bit different. I'll hit G again, this time scale out. And what I'm going to do is then just pull up with the arrow and create like a kind of a cap like that. And then G one more time, and then just kind of give a little extra thickness, so something like that. Now, to finish it off, I could add those individual areas of like going inwards. There's a couple different ways you could do it. You could do every other one. You could do that by holding shift, click on the next one, and then extrude inwards. That'd be one way to do it. Another way you could do it is you could select all these faces and do the extrude tool by clicking on this extrude, and then right here where it says keep faces together, turn that off, and then start pulling out the blue arrow, and you'll start to see you get separated little faces here. Then what you have to do is click on the blue cube and then scale them in a little bit so you get this kind of effect. But what tends to happen is you have to then kind of scale back up to kind of get that effect there. And I kind of feel like it poofs out a little bit too much. So I think instead of this way, I'm going to undo. Go back several times. I am going to do every other one. I think it's a better solution. So I just wanted to show you that other one. And sometimes you just try things out and see what happens. So again, I'm just holding shift key for every other one. So I'm just going to hold shift, and I'm just rotating around the shift key, and shift, and shift, and shift, and one more. There we go. And this time, instead of extruding out, I'm going to extrude in a little bit. So I'm going to click the extrude tool, and then I'm just going to kind of push those in a little bit. You got to be careful how much. So just a little smidge is good, and then right click, go back to object mode. And so there you get a little bit of that effect of that sort of like striations going across there. Now, if I was going to bevel this, I might want to bevel almost everything in here, because if I hit 3, it's going to really create some weird soft sections up here. So I might just leave this mesh without softening it, which is a possibility. Sometimes I'll do that with objects. But yeah, I'm actually not so crazy about this effect with it going in like that. But you could do that. So what you want to do if you want to add the bevel to this whole thing is maybe deselect some of the top part here. So I'll go to my side view here and just show you what I would do here. I'll zoom in, go to edge mode, and I guess I'll just go over the whole thing, zoom out, and then hold the control key. And what I'm going to do is deselect these inner ones here, these inner ones here, and really small, just right in between here. That way I create the top and the bottom, and this little edge loop, this little edge loop. Maybe deselect these guys here in the middle, so you can kind of see what I have selected. Now I have to deselect these top ones also, and which is a little tricky, so I'll try and do that from the top view. and I'm going to control and just drag a little section here, and let's see how that looks. There we go. That sort of did it. So that, oh, yeah, nope. I missed these guys here. I'm wondering if I need those. Yeah, I probably don't want to have these selected either. So I'd have to hold the shift key and deselect these individually as I go around here. I don't know if I'd be able to get in there and deselect without anything else. I'm just going to go around a couple of these. And then if you have this problem where it doesn't want to spin around, you can hit the F key, kind of zoom out, and then zoom back in. Sometimes you have to do that, and then just kind of rotate around. And then middle click and rotate, middle click and rotate to get it to go again. Again, I'm just holding shift on the same line that's already selected, and that will deselect them. So that's another way to deselect besides just holding the control key. Now I'd have to do the same thing on the bottom. I think I'm going to leave those alone because they connect to these big strands here. I don't know if this is going to work or not. We'll see. We'll check it out. So we'll add a bevel here. And let's go to 0.2 for the bevel. And it seems to be my go-to. And then I'll add, let's go with 3 segments this time. We'll give it a little more segments. And then go back to object mode on it. And then hit number 3 for smoothing. And click out. And that actually doesn't look too bad. There are some weird issues up here. It's a little tight in there. And there's some funkiness really going on there. So yeah, I would have to adjust these a little bit. I don't like the beveling here is real problematic. Let me undo a couple of steps. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, I think I would need to deselect some of these edges along here to add this bevel. So if I hold shift key and deselect these guys around here, and there's just a few more I'd have to deselect, like this guy, this guy. So sometimes it takes a little bit of work to figure out what lines to get rid of, and sometimes it still doesn't work. The geometry isn't set up right for the actual edge loops, so you have to redesign the edge loops to follow the form another way. But I'm going to try this out real quick. And just go through here. And again, I'm just deselecting by holding down shift. And I think that covers it. So the only ones I kept were the full ones here. I think that will give me a better bevel, but we'll see. Add a bevel. Let's take a look at it. Looks okay there. Let's go with 0.3. So not quite. Ooh, whoa! I hit 3 instead of 0.3. 0.3. Enter. And then let's do 2 divisions. Go back to 2. And let's try that now and hit number 3. There we go. That looks good. So it was those little pieces in there that were just selected that caused the issue. So now we got a nice clean bevel along there. So again, sometimes you have to just select and deselect. Of course, the bottom you're not going to have any issues at all because we got rid of the bottom faces at the very bottom there. Now, what's really nice is if I want to taper this some more, like right looking at this from the distance, I kind of feel like if I just bring out the base far wider is kind of what I want to do. So I'm going to go into vertex mode to do this. And I'm just going to drag over all these verts right here. And if you hit number 4, you can see what's selected. Go back to 5 for shaded solid, and I'm going to scale this out a little bit by just grabbing this little guy. And that will kind of give it a little bit more of that taper quality. Now what this ultimately means is that then I would have to scale up my base a little bit. So it's okay, I can just basically scale it up a little bit like that. And if I need to, I could shrink it a little bit if I went too far. Actually, I think that's pretty good though. Hit the F key on it. Let's frame in on it and take a look. Yeah, that'll work pretty good. Alright, so basically that's it in a nutshell, how to create a column. It seemed like a little bit longer than usual with the tutorial just because of the special sort of divisions we added inside here. Now if you wanted to make a ruined one where it was kind of broken or messed up or something, maybe on the edge, I'll just show you really fast. I'll just move this out over here and then scale it up quite a bit just by dragging like that. Maybe fatten it up a little bit. So if this was a broken one or a bent one, what we could do is then select these top verts here and you could start pulling them down, but instead of grabbing the whole unit there, because if I grab the whole unit, it'll kind of draw as flat. What we could start to do is grab a few of them and kind of angle it, and have something like that and give it that kind of broken feel, which can be kind of nice. So it's pretty easy to do. You can even do it with a soft select mode and kind of get to manipulate a little bit more. But that might be one way to give you more of this effect of the broken ones. You can see here where they're kind of torn off. If you want a little bit more of that detail in there, you'd have to bring it into a sculpting program like Mudbox or ZBrush to get the effect. Alright, so until next time, we'll continue the game object project in a future tutorial. But this is the conclusion of creating a column in Autodesk Maya. Until next time, cheers!